There's no time like the new year to get organized and to turn a blank wall into a beautiful built-in desk. And this year I partnered with Craig Jig to highlight their new hardware installation kit to build this double built-in desk with space for myself and space for my husband. And this hardware installation kit is a special promotion. You can get it right now through the end of February. And it has three of my favorite jigs in it. It has the pocket hole jig 310 and the concealed hinge jig, which makes it super easy to add concealed hinges to any cabinet door. It also has the hardware installation jig, which will allow you to perfectly place cabinet knobs and drawer pulls on all of your cabinets. So let's get building. Typically, when you build cabinets, you build each cabinet separately, and then you attach them to each other when you put them in the room to install. For my built-in desk, I'm actually going to do things a little bit differently. Because I only have 3 small banks of cabinets with a large space between them for a desk chair to go underneath, I can make those individual sections as one cabinet. They're still going to be small enough I can take them in and out of door frames, which a full bank of kitchen cabinets definitely wouldn't be able to. And then I'll be able to install them as one unit instead of 3 individual units. This will give me a couple more inches in space for the opening for the desk area, so I'm going to maximize all of the space on my wall for the built-in desk. And I'm going to start by building the face frames for all of the cabinets. So I've cut out all the pieces that I need for my face frames. I'm ready to take them over to my pocket hole jig and get started building. Now with all the pocket holes drilled, I'm ready to start assembling. And I'm going to be assembling the rail pieces between the stiles. And it creates a box just like this. Now it's really that simple. I'm going to give you a couple tips. So the first thing is you want to make sure that you keep the front and back of your face frame totally flush. And the best way to do this is with these wonderful face frame clamps, and you get 2 of them in the hardware kit. And they're just as easy as clamping it. You don't have to clamp it to a surface, but I prefer it. Clamp it tight like that. Now you've got the boards nice and snug, and you can attach your pocket holes into the stiles for a nice firm joint. Second tip, I wish I would have discovered a lot earlier. When you're attaching a rail that has 2 pocket holes, if you attach the bottom pocket hole, the one furthest away from the edge of your board first, you have a 50% or greater chance of splitting your wood. Always attach the pocket hole that is closest to the edge of the board first. And then attach the second one, and I haven't split a single board since I started doing that way. So I'm going to start attaching these. Make sure to use wood glue, and I'm using 1 1/4 inch pocket hole screws because I'm working with 3/4 inch thick lumber. Now that all my face frames have been fully assembled, I'm ready to break down my plywood and start building the box onto the face frame. And I'm going to start by cutting out all of my side panels. They're all the same size, and I can rip those out of a couple sheets of plywood. Now I did choose to use a pre-finished plywood. This means I don't have to worry about finishing the inside of my desk at all once it's assembled. The inside is done, and all I have to worry about is the face frame and the doors. Once I get all the side pieces cut out, I'm going to start assembling those onto the face frame, and then I'm going to measure between the sides to cut specifically the bottoms and the support pieces. And the reason I'm doing this is because the plywood, it's not exactly 3/4 inch thick, and where I'm trying to position those perfectly onto the face frames, I want to make sure I measure to cut so that everything lines up perfectly. All of my cabinet boxes are now assembled, and I wanted to show you the centerpiece, which is going to be a T for my printer to sit inside of here, and this is going between the two desk areas. And it's actually assembled as two separate pieces. So the front piece, not assembled yet, because I'm going to assemble it in the room, is assembled just like the regular cabinet. I've got my sides, my base. I don't have a back on any of them right now, but this one's not going to need a back, because what I did for the behind piece is I've created my cabinet and I used a piece of plywood in between the two face frames. And this plywood is the exact width of this cabinet box, not the face frame, but the actual box. So when we install it, I can line this up, and if I line it up pretty perfectly with that plywood, that seam pretty much goes away. But even better, after it's installed, I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch, which is actually only 3/8 of an inch, sheet of plywood to cap the ends. That's going to hide all of the pocket holes and make the side flush with my face frame. And I will do that on all the sides that are visible on all the cabinet pieces. Any sides that go up against the wall will be scribed and fit nice and tight into the wall. All of my cabinet bases have been taken upstairs into the office. So now I'm ready to work on the cabinet doors. And I've already started by cutting all of the pieces for my drawer fronts and doors to size, and now I'm working on routering them out. And I'm going to show you, I'm doing a really simple cabinet door. You of course can do any kind of cabinet door you want, but I'm just doing a very simple shaker style door. And what I'm doing is I've cut my rails and stiles, and I've already started routing out a groove in all of the rails. And how these go together is super simple. We're going to put the rails between the stiles, and we're going to put a 1/4 inch panel inside of this. I'm painting it all, so I'm going to put pocket holes on the back of all the rails to attach them to the stiles. Now I haven't started routing out my stiles yet because I need to measure them all off about 2 inches from each end, because I don't want to router out a groove in this area here, because that's going to allow a spot for my pocket holes to attach it. When I'm done, I can fill these really quickly with some wood putty, sand them down. I'm going to have some really nice cabinet doors and drawer fronts, and it's not going to take me very much time. Now that all of my cabinet doors have been sanded, I even took them over to my router table and put a small chamfer around the edges. I think it looks really, really nice. It is finally time to attach the hardware and to install these cabinet doors. And for this, I am going to be using the concealed hinge jig from Craig, and this comes in the hardware installation kit. And the first couple times I actually made cabinet doors, I was terrified to drill into them. So I used non-concealed hinges, but I am here to tell you that this thing makes it super easy and less scary. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to use. All you need to do is flip over your cabinet door, decide which edge, this is the edge I need to attach my hinges to. You have the 2 gray spots at the bottom. This allows you to set the distance from the edge of the pocket that you're drilling out and the edge of your cabinet. And this is based off of the hinges that you do choose. So look in the instructions for your hinges to set that number. This is in millimeters. I'm using a 1/2 inch overlay Blum cabinet hinge. This has got a soft close, a really nice hinge, and it required a 3 millimeter distance. So I've set those to 3, and now I'm ready to drill holes. It's that easy. I'm going to set the pocket holes so it's 3 inches on center from the edge. So I'm lining up the 3 on the edge of my on the edge of my cabinet door, and then I just clamp this down, making sure that it's pressed nice and tight up against the stops here, so I have that 3 millimeter spacing. I've added the drill bit into my drill, and I am ready to drill. You're going to slide this in, clip it into place, that easy. Makes a big mess, but it's totally worth it. Now, before you remove this, the next part, it actually has spots for you to drill out the holes for the screws that hold it in. If you have a second drill, put the second drill bit into it. So I'm using my right angle drill. Makes this super easy. And that's all it is. Now, if you don't have a second drill, that's okay. You can still do this. What I like to do is set it up for my second hinge. There we go. And then I would drill this out first. Before swapping out to the next bit. Now be careful when you're drilling these pilot holes because there's no stop on this. You don't want to drill all the way through. Get rid of all of that dust, and then installing the hinges is just as easy as placing them in that pocket, oh whoops, wrong screws, and attaching the screws. And that cabinet door is ready to be installed. I'm going to finish up adding my hinges to the rest of my cabinet doors so I can go install them in my desk unit. To install the cabinet doors, I'm going to be using the same 1/2 inch overlay on the top and the bottom. So I made my cabinet doors exactly 1 inch bigger than my opening. It gives me a 1/2 inch all the way around. Now you'll notice that my face frame here is actually quite a bit deeper. I did this as a 2.5 inch instead of a 1.5 inch face frame. I'm going to be adding a panel here, which will make that a little bit smaller. And the main reason for this is to allow plenty of clearance for this drawer to open up fully and not have to worry about it to still be able to access this cabinet. So since I set my pocket for the hinges at 3 inches on center from the top, that means I need to measure down 2.5 inches to drill my hole to attach my cabinets. Sorry, cabinet doors. I like to hold this up when I drill my pilot hole. I don't know why, that's just the way I've always done it. Helps me make sure that I have it in the right spot. And I always attach the top before I do the bottom. Perfect. Now I can adjust it up, down, side to side with all of the screws included, but I'll do that after I get it all painted. Just installed my final 2 cabinet doors. Next up is drawer boxes and installing those. And I'm not gonna go into detail on that to keep this video shorter, but I do have another video all about how I install my cabinet drawers with the ball bearing drawer slides, which is what I'm gonna use. So I'll link to that below. And then I can come back and add some hardware. I've got all of my drawer boxes built and installed, and now I'm finally ready to add drawer fronts and cabinet hardware. And for this, I'm using the hardware jig that comes in the bundle. And this one is actually going to make life really easy to line up the drawer fronts. And this is a question that I actually get asked a lot, is how do you line them up? So let me show you this little trick that's super simple. And I'm going to start, now I like doing this before it's painted because I can draw all over things. If it's already painted, you can still use a light pencil mark or and then erase it or touch up afterwards. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw, because I used a 1/2 inch overlay, I need to draw where I want my drawer to line up. So I've just got this with a 1/2 inch mark, make a couple marks there. On the side here, I have 1.5 inch thick, and it only overlays 1/2 inch, so I need that to set in 1 inch. So I will do that here, a couple marks. And I only really need to line it up on that side because this side will automatically line up if the other two do. Okay, next I'm going to mark where I'm going to be putting my cabinet hardware on here. And I've already set this up for the width of my hinges. And actually, I forgot one. Let me grab my hinge. And it's not a hinge, sorry, a pole. So I've already marked where I want the pole to be. And so you can see that the holes for that line up with the holes on the jig. Now I'm going to center this. Actually, I need to reset this one. Because it was set to be centered here, I need to reset it to center on the smaller one here. Okay. So I've got a 6-inch drawer, so I'm just going to drop this down to be 3 inches. Perfect. Okay, so that's nice and centered there. And I am going to center it there and clamp it down. There we go. After I get that clamped, I like to measure just to double check. Okay, those holes are perfectly centered. Okay, with my drill bit set in here, I'm just going to do a quick mark. And all I'm doing, actually I'm going to do a little bit more, is marking where those holes are going to be, but I'm not actually drilling all the way through right now, because I'm going to use that to attach my drawer here. And I'll try to do this without completely blocking. And I'm just using some Craig 1-inch pocket hole screws because they're self-tapping, so it makes them nice and easy. And I'll line it all up with my mark. And then I will secure the drawer front to the drawer through those holes. Next, I will pop open my drawer, and I'm actually going to use some more of these 1-inch screws because I've got a 1/2-inch drawer box. I'm going to attach it through the drawer box into the drawer front. I'm going to make sure to attach it into the side here because the center panel here is shallower. This will pop through, and this will secure the drawer front. Then I can remove the holes, drill out with the hole I need to attach my drawer pull, and then attach it. Okay, everything looks nice and lined up. And for this, I'm actually just going to line it up like this because I already have the holes mostly started. And there we go. Perfectly lined up drawers and perfectly lined up hardware. Now that my drawers are done, I can actually readjust my hardware jig to put on the poles for my cabinet doors. Okay, so for my cabinet hardware, I'm going to center it on the stiles of my cabinet door, and I'm going to have it in line with the edge of the rails. So because I have a 2.5-inch rail, I'll reset the back of this for 2.5 inches. And then, 2.5 inches, that's going to be 1.25 inch across. And I'm just going to put this in the number 4.5 spot. Now you can remove it and put it in the center, but I'm going to keep it nice and simple. And now I am ready to clamp it on and drill. And I like to go nice and slow through that so I don't blow out the back. And the perfectly chosen knobs go right there. Perfect. And I know my DIY built-in desk is not finished yet. I still need to cut my side panels to cover the pocket holes on the inside sections of all of the chair spots of the desk. And then the hard part, I gotta decide what color to paint it. I still am going back and forth. Then I'll top it off with a countertop. You can do any kind of countertop you want. I might be leaning towards a wood countertop. I'll put a link to my video where I did it in my kitchen. And then we'll be able to move in, and I cannot wait for that to happen. I'll make sure to share updates as I continue to finish things on the blog, so make sure to follow along at housefulofhandmade.com. But I was just so excited to get this video done and shared so you too could grab your hardware installation kit from Craig and get to building in the new year.